Yeah, blood. You know what I mean? We're there, back again. Episode 6 of the Chinksey Sports Presents, the Premier League show. We there, you know what I mean? Right, let's go. A little bit later than what I planned, considering obviously this weekend's football's got up and running. So let's get this show up and running. Right, quick recap of last week's football, starting at Molineux. Wolverhampton Wanderers against Liverpool ended 3-1 to Liverpool in a game of two halves. I watched this game. I was impressed with Wolves in the first half, but they'll probably be kicking themselves. The fact that they didn't kind of take advantage of Liverpool's. They just looked sluggish coming back from the international break, and Wolves were just full of energy. They were literally outrunning them in the midfield. Alexis McAllister had a stinker in the first half and was hooked off by Jurgen Klopp at half time. It was likely that he was still smarting from a lack of oxygen, having played for Argentina in Bolivia, La Paz, as they play at altitude. They managed to win that game. I believe it was 1-0. But Liverpool were off the boil for about 40 minutes of that game in the first half. But I felt like they started coming into themselves. They started coming into their own in the last 5 minutes of that first half, and they almost scored just before half time. Wolves managed to hang on. But you felt that, what was his name, that centre forward for Wolves, the Brazilian one? His name has exited my mind. But yeah, he missed a vital opportunity at 1-0. He could have made it 2, and that would have made it really interesting to see how Liverpool would have been able to come back from that mountain. But going down 1-0 at half time was a molehill for them. They managed to obviously turn it around in the second half. I'm sure you could see that coming. They have been actually doing that quite a few times this season. I believe 4 of the last 5 games they've gone 1-0 down, and they've won all of them, including on Thursday in the Europa League, which I watched as well. In the first half, though, a few players for Wolves did impress me. Bellegarde and Mario Lemina, and especially Pedro Neto, who was running rings around, what was it? Joe Gomez, was it? Yeah. Obviously, who was playing in place of Trent Alexander-Arnold, who missed that game through injury. So yeah, he didn't miss that England game for Liverpool because he was injured clearly. But no, Liverpool were impressive in the second half. They were more impressive in the second half than Wolves were in the first half, and they ran out well-deserved winners to win 3-1, just like I predicted. So I managed to get that spot on. Right, next up was at Villa Park, wherein Aston Villa faced Crystal Palace. They managed to win that 3-1. Crystal Palace did take the lead. But I just feel only time will tell whether or not Aston Villa are like the best of the rest, or they just also runs like flat trap bullies. You know, they're just gonna beat the bottom half of the table. You know, at home especially, but they're gonna lose to like all the top sides. If Aston Villa wanna get into Europe, they wanna be, you know, dining at the top kind of section of the table, the top 5, 6, 7 teams. They're going to need to get results against teams like Chelsea, who, funnily enough, they got tomorrow. But yeah, you would probably expect Aston Villa to beat teams like Crystal Palace, especially with the players they have and the amount of money they spent this summer. But Aston Villa did lose in Europe this week, having made some changes. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare against Chelsea tomorrow. I'll speak about that a bit later on in the show. Okay, the next fixture was at Craven Cottage, where Fulham faced Luton Town. They ran out 1-0 victors, a routine victory for Fulham, really. I predicted a 2-0 win for Fulham, but it ended 1-0. Luton perhaps might consider it a missed opportunity to pick up their first point of the season, because they'd definitely bitten your hand off for a draw before the game. But it's already looking ominous for them, I can't lie. You know. However, I do expect them to take a couple scalps this season, especially at home at Kenilworth Road in the coming months. They might even get something today I'll mention that later on as they face Wolverhampton Wanderers, and it's 17 minutes into that game. But I actually haven't checked the scores yet because I'm doing the show and I don't want it to influence my predictions or whatever because I've already wrote down my predictions. But yeah, Fulham won that 1-0. You know what I mean? Manchester United against Brighton, obviously, ended 3-1 to Brighton. My prediction was 2-0. But nevertheless, I did know that Brighton will win. More so the fact that the style of football that Brighton play, and the perilous form that Manchester United are currently in, it was always going to go one way. Especially, I mean, despite the fact that it's been at Old Trafford, which has been a fortress in the last, let's say, 12 months. And it's just ironic that Brighton are the only team to have beaten Man United during that run. They've beaten them twice in a year. So you could say they're probably becoming their bogey side. But no, the game went exactly how I thought it would. Because I've seen Brighton firsthand destroy Arsenal at the Emirates. I think it was April, May last year. So I definitely know what they're capable of doing. What they do is they pick you off. They keep the ball and then they just draw you out, fam. And literally they just play it around you. Bam, 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 bam. Like pass after pass after. It's a madness. It's a beautiful thing to watch. But yeah, they make you look incompetent at the best of times, let alone when you're on your knees, especially as United are currently. United have had a impregnable home record since, like I said, like I already mentioned, last season. But no, Brighton are fast becoming a bogey team. But really, can you call Brighton a bogey team? Because I don't think you can call top sides a bogey team now. I think they shouldn't be classified as that. They should be just classed as a side that are amongst the top in the league, and they're just kind of kryptonite to certain teams like Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, even Arsenal to a certain extent. They've even taken some points off Man City. So all the top sides have struggled to some extent against Brighton. The only reason I feel Brighton won't be involved in a title race and borderline top four, maybe top five, is because whilst they'll do well against the top sides, I feel like it's against the middle ranked sides that they're going to come unstuck, as we've seen already against West Ham and in Europe against AEK Athens in games they dominated but managed to lose both games. But I feel like that's going to be a story of Brighton's season where the games they lose will be games that they've missed chances, spurned chances, but the opponent has hit them on a break and literally just picked them off. So yeah, the next game was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where Tottenham beat Sheffield United, the newly promoted Sheffield United, 2-1. I got that right. I got that prediction spot on, actually. I did think Tottenham will be winning 2-0 and Sheffield would get a consolation, but it was the other way round where Sheffield United were winning 1-0 up until the 107th minute, I think. And obviously, as we've been seeing a pattern this season where the top sides are getting a lot of late goals, because obviously now football's not just a 90-minute game. It can go up to 100 and 110 minutes. So yeah, but Spurs won it in the 110th minute, and it's the second time this season that Sheffield United have dropped points so late on in a game against a top side. The first time was against Manchester City at home, where at Bramall Lane, where Rodri got a late winner. Incidentally, they're actually the closest side to take something off Man City this season, because City have just been steamrolling their opponents in every other game. But I feel like it was great character from Tottenham, who needed to show and continue the momentum going into the big one at the Emirates, the North London derby tomorrow afternoon. Richarlison came off the bench and made a difference despite his off the field woes. Showed good character, so it'll be interesting to see who'll start tomorrow against Arsenal. I don't think so, but it's possible. Right, I think this was the late kickoff at the London Stadium. Was it the late kickoff? No, it wasn't. It was 3 o'clock kickoff at the London Stadium. Manchester City ran out 3-1 victors against West Ham. I got that one spot on. I knew Man City were going to turn them over, despite West Ham's impressive form this season. in what was a top of the table clash at the time. Jeremy Doku was outstanding, especially in the second half. He reminded me a bit of a young Raheem Sterling, where he's just literally taking on his fullback with pace, agility, direct. You don't know where he's gonna go. You just feel he's gonna win a penalty. He's got that low center of gravity. He can cut in and just bang it in. Really electric player, and he's gonna be. It's gonna be interesting to see kind of how many goals he will get this season. But he offers Man City a different dimension to wingers such as Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish, Phil Foden, because he's more direct and he's gonna win a fair few penalties this season. But yeah, Man City, you could say a routine victory for them. Now this was the late kickoff. It wasn't a pretty game, but did you expect that? At St James's Park, Newcastle managed to beat Brentford 1-0. Newcastle just about stopped the rot after 3 successive defeats in a much needed win at St James's. Over the next few months, though, we'll find out whether the Magpies are suffering from a dose of second season syndrome or whether they can overcome that. And because obviously now there's expectation on Eddie Howe's side. They spent a bit of money in the summer. They will be expecting European football. I'm not sure the owners will be putting pressure on the manager for Champions League football, but I do think Europa League football and a good run in the Cups is the least that they should be expecting, considering the financial outlay this summer. So yeah, much needed victory for Newcastle. On the Sunday early kickoff game, it was Bournemouth 0, Chelsea 0. I reckon before the game, Bournemouth would have bitten your hand off for a point against a Chelsea side who are still kind of working out what they're trying to do, get themselves together, kind of gel. It's kind of teething problems, I'll say, for Chelsea. They're lacking the cutting edge in attack. I feel like Chelsea didn't even take risks, and despite the fact that they have an injury crisis of 12 plus players out, I just feel like they're bereft in ideas in attack. And with the experienced talisman, Raheem Sterling, who I think should be their captain, him and Thiago Silva, Nicholas Jackson and Mudryk, you'd expect better from Chelsea. But Andoni, I can't even speak. Andoni Iraola's Bournemouth, however, would have certainly bit your hand off for a draw. But yeah, I'm sure they're delighted with that, and you'd probably think that Bournemouth will probably stay up this season. I reckon they'll probably be around 15th, 16th, 14th at best. But I think Bournemouth will probably stay up. If they're getting results like this, they should be fine, really. And the last game on Sunday was at Goodison Park, where Arsenal took on their, what can I say, a side that they've struggled with over the years at that stadium, I may add. I feel like Arsenal were extremely comfortable, and this match was a question of if Arsenal could score and if Everton can survive the onslaught. Once the former happened, the game was over. Arsenal controlled the game really pretty much from start to finish. Everton were on their knees, just literally hoping for the final bell. But once Arsenal scored, it was game, set, and match, really. But nothing really much more to add to that. The last game of the week was on Monday evening, where at the City Ground, where Nottingham Forest took on Burnley. I feel like Burnley are definitely the beneficiaries of this point. Forest will probably be disappointed with this result, because Forest are now they're pretty half decent outfit now, and it's no surprise that Callum Hudson-Odoi got off to a flyer, scoring a brilliant solo goal on his home debut for the club. He does look hungry, reinvigorated, and him and what's his name? Him and Anthony Elanga, good wingers, especially if you want to counter-attack away from home against top sides. Really good wingers. They stretch the pitch, they widen the pitch, they give you pace, goal scoring ability, hunger, youthful exuberance on the break. I feel they dovetail really well with Taiwo Awoniyi, and then obviously you got Morgan Gibbs White just behind them. So that's a really good. I like it. I know I keep mentioning it every week, But that Nottingham Forest side is coming together. I just feel like that defense, if they can get that defense right, they're gonna be a solid outfit. Yeah, they've got a lot of players. I feel like they need to trim the squad, get rid of the deadwood. There's a lot of deadwood in there, a few championship players in there. But if they can improve that defense and get like a kind of partnership at the heart of defense going, they signed Gabriel Montiel from Sevilla, a World Cup winner. You know, that's a serious signing. I think he's playing right back for them. But they got some good signings in there. So if they can kind of get that blend in the defense right, I think they should be top half of the bottom half. So they should be about 12th, 13th, 14th for me. But yeah, Forest won't go down this season. They'll be fine. Okay, so that was last week ends roundup. So now I'm going to go up to this week and the predictions. So like I said, I have no idea what the scores are. Don't want to check. I will check once this show is over. But starting at Selhurst Park, London derby between Crystal Palace and Fulham. I've went 2-0 to Palace. Palace are solid outfit at home. And if they can get their England international centre-half Mark Guehi back, then they should go coast to a comfortable home win for me, even without Elise. I mean, like I said, for all I know, Fulham might have scored, but I'm going to stick with my guns and I'm going to say Palace 2-0 there. At Kenilworth Road, Luton Town against Wolves. I feel like this is the first proper, well, Sheffield United Everton was a 6-pointer, but this is a real relegation 6-pointer. Both teams would have earmarked this as a must-win fixture, especially. Well, I can't even say especially Luton. I feel like Wolves looking at this and thinking we got to pick up 3 points here, mate. And as a result, I think it's going to end in a stalemate. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Probably Wolves go ahead and Luton just push and get a late equaliser. I feel like Luton need to take advantage of games like this and they need to use the crowd and home advantage to get something. And I do think they're going to get their first point of the season. I do actually feel like Luton will, if not win, I believe they're going to come away with something. So 1-1. Manchester City against Nottingham Forest. What can I say? Man City have been steamrolling teams all season. They've won every single game, including in the Champions League against Red Star Belgrade, where they won 3-1 after being 1-0 down at half-time. And I expect nothing other than another 3 points for City. And I expect them to keep winning until they play Arsenal at the Emirates in about 2 weeks, if I'm not wrong, in October. But I expect that. I think it's going to be a 3-0 victory. For all I know, they could be winning 1-0 already, 1 or 2. But I just feel, although like I just mentioned, Nottingham Forest are a half-decent outfit, I just think Man City got too much for them. I mean, bloody hell. Julian Alvarez is on fire, scoring 1s and 2s every week. Not to mention Erling Haaland. And then Jeremy Doku's looking electric. I'm sure Jack Grealish is, if he's not back today, I'm sure he'll be back next week. So, you know what I mean? Then they got obviously Bernardo Silva. I mean, we could do this all day. The defense looks solid, not conceding goals. Nothing other than a 3-0 win for City for me. Obviously, 5:30 kickoff once again features Brentford at the Brentford Stadium, if that's what it's called. But I've got Brentford to beat Everton 2-1. It's going to be a hard-fought game. It's not going to be pretty. I don't think Brentford have even played that well this season. But their manager, Thomas, was frank with his tactics on Sky Sports this week. I'll just pause, just in case anyone clocked what I did there. Thomas Frank. But yeah, surely Sean Dyche and the rest of the Premier League would have done their homework on what he was saying. And maybe, I'm not really sure how exposing your tactics does you any good. Yeah, I mean, it makes you look like a genius, but surely it's going to be a benefactor for whatever, and maybe they can take something from that and kind of exploit anything he's exposed. I just don't see how that's beneficial to Brentford. It's only beneficial to the opponent if you're going to kind of show your tactics, you're going to show your hand, show your cards, you get what I'm saying? But obviously, it is what it is. We'll see how the game goes. But I do think Brentford will win that game anyway, so yeah. For me, the most intriguing fixture of the week is Burnley against Man United. I'm going to be watching that with a keen eye. Just more so the fact that in normality, you'd expect Man United to win that 9 times out of 10, but because of the context, because Vincent Company's men playing football out from the back, pulling you out, similar to Brighton in a way, they've got some good wingers out there, both sides, and I think they're gonna cause United some problems. That's gonna be a very intriguing game. I believe if Company can get that belief into the players that if they play their football, they can win. Especially the form, the lack of confidence United are showing. I don't expect anything other than a Burnley win. I can't lie, this is crazy. I think Burnley are gonna win. I got Burnley down to win that game, I can't lie to you. Burnley to win, so I've gone 2-1 Burnley. Um, United, for me, probably go into that game thinking we've got to win. But I do think if they're gonna feel their way how the game's going, feel like if Burnley are balling out, they'll take a point, mate. You know what I mean? Just get out there with a point, stop the rot. Because I know United have got a series of home games coming up. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They got a season. I've got 5 or 6 consecutive home games. I've had a look, and I feel like that's where they probably expect to turn the season around. So they're gonna want something from today going into that run of home fixtures, which starts in the Carabao Cup next week. I can't remember who they're playing. Can't remember who they're playing, but they've got a lot of home games in a row in the league, Champions League, and the Carabao Cup. So United will probably go into this game thinking they've got a win, but I think if the game's not going their way, they'll take up a bite of your hand off for a point just to stop the rot, because they've lost 4 games in a trot. And imagine losing 5. That is peak. How does the manager survive that? So yeah. Right, the North London derby. Surprisingly, it's an early Sunday kickoff at 2 o'clock at the Emirates. I've gone Arsenal 3, Tottenham 2. I don't know why I've gone 3-2, because really I think it will be 3-1 or 4-1, but I've just gone Arsenal 3, Tottenham 2. It'll be interesting to see if Tottenham continue playing that cavalier, attacking, brazen football, bold football, chesty football, you know what I mean? Like, try to do that at the Emirates. We'll see how it goes. But as you saw in midweek, PSV tried it, and they were slapped up 4-0. But I think it's going to be an exciting game. I just can't see how Tottenham stop Arsenal scoring 2, 3, 4 goals, really, because I feel like Arsenal have hit form at a good time. You could just feel like it's starting to click. It's starting to click into gear. Declan Rice is starting to get his feet under the table. But James Maddison has started the season really well. Son's got a few goals. He's made some comments during the week, so I'm sure Arteta's gonna pin that on the wall. And like, boys, he's done his team talk for him, so it'll be interesting. I'm sure after that game, all the players will be retweeting what Son said. Well, if they win anyway. It reminds me of that Ivan Toney tweet and Aubameyang nothing serious tweet. You know what I mean? Nothing personal from last season. But it's interesting. Son's obviously laid down the gauntlet, so you got to back it up. You know what I mean? Back your talk, big man. You know what I mean? But no, Arsenal 3-2. Brighton against Bournemouth. Obviously, Brighton. You know what? I can't lie. I'll be honest with you. During that week, I made an accumulator. 14. How many teams is it? Is it 14 or 15? I think it's 15 teams. And I was looking at that game. 14 of my 15 teams won. Brighton were the one that let me down. But I was looking at that game thinking, that was the iffy one I was looking at. I was thinking Brighton. Because I know they're a bit of a funny team. Like, they can... How the game went is how I thought they would lose, kind of thing. Like, I just saw a little vulnerability in the fact that they're lacking European experience, and they're a bit naive at times as well. where they can have 70-80% possession but lose a game of football. They lost 3-2 at home to AEK Athens, who literally took advantage in a similar manner to how West Ham beat them. So it's a funny one. I don't think Bournemouth have enough in them to be able to go to Brighton and win. So I'm gonna go for Brighton 2-0, but no, Brighton are a bit vulnerable against sides you expect them to beat. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that's, like I mentioned earlier, that's why I think they're not gonna be title contenders, and you can't say with certainty that they'll be in a Champions League places because of that. I think they'll be in and around fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, fourth to seventh, anywhere between there. But I expect them to be back in Europe next season for sure. But Brighton 2-0 at Stamford Bridge. This is an interesting game. I've noticed a lot of people are expecting Chelsea to win. I've gone for an Aston Villa 3-1 win. Because I just feel Aston Villa have got players on the break they're gonna exploit Chelsea on the counter attack. I feel people like Moussa Diaby, Leon Bailey. They've obviously bought Nicolo Zaniolo now, so they got kind of changes where they can make. They've got a centre forward, just the name Dufresne or something, that's been scoring a few goals. Ollie Watkins. So they got threats there on the break. And obviously they're gonna stay solid in the midfield with John McGinn, with Douglas Luiz. They did rest a few players, so they got a squad big enough to play the Premier League football in Europe, so they rotate. But Chelsea, they've been struggling, and I just feel it's gonna take some time for them. That's my chair, by the way. But it's gonna take some time for them to kind of get it together. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've gone 3-1 Villa. Shock win. At Anfield, Liverpool take on West Ham United in a penultimate fixture of the week. It's funny though, Mikel Antonio has been making brash and outlandish statements and saying the Hammers will finish above Liverpool. And whilst I think it was done in jest, tongue in cheek, I do feel Liverpool will make him and West Ham pay. I've watched Liverpool's last two games against Wolves and LASK. Some Austrian team they beat in midweek, both away. They won both 3-1, and they were one down at half-time in both. Both were Jekyll and Hyde performances. Liverpool have gone a goal behind in 4 of the last 5 games, which indicates they're slow starters, but end games extremely strongly. They're also unbeaten in 16 league games. So they're on they're actually on the longest serving winning run in the top 5 leagues in Europe. So that's telling you a lot, showing you that the league is very competitive, because the next 2 in this league are Tottenham and Spurs, Arsenal and Spurs, who are 6 games unbeaten going into last season. Even Man City aren't even on an unbeaten run like that, as they lost to... Is it Brentford? Yeah, they lost to Brentford in the last game of last season in a meaningless fixture. Obviously, West Ham will play a low block and expect to spring on the counter attack with people like Jared Bowen, who rested his feet in midweek as Mohamed Kudus managed to get his first 2 goals for the Hammers. Also, Mikel Antonio got himself a rest, so I'm sure he'll come back in the side. It'll be interesting to see if Kudus does start and where he does start, because obviously he was playing off the right. So will Kudus go onto the left and Ben Rama comes out, or will Ben Rama come back in? That's the question. Because I do think if Moyes starts with Kudus and Bowen, that's a bold, you know what I mean? That's a chesty, a chesty decision. It's like, yo, we're coming to kind of threaten you. But I don't think Kudus will start. I think he's going to bring in Bowen. He's going to put in Paqueta and probably Ben Rama, more defensive kind of structure. But yeah, I've gone 3-1 to Liverpool. And in the last game of the week, not the most attractive fixture, at Bramall Lane, I have gone Newcastle to beat Sheffield United 2-0. I expect Newcastle to build on a solid Champions League clean sheet in Milan. They were lucky. They did hang on for that, but no one cares. They got the point. Alexander Isak hasn't scored in a while, and Callum Wilson has been on fire on top form. So it'll be interesting to see who starts between the two. However, incidentally, Alexander Isak can play off the left if anything. So, but I don't think that's gonna happen from the start. I think Howe is gonna start with Callum Wilson. So 2-0 to Newcastle. All right, next week for episode 7. We out.